Good morning, everyone. We will be starting the program in just a few minutes. May we remind you of the following house rules for this webinar. We encourage a respectful and inclusive space where everyone can express their thoughts and opinions. Please be mindful of your language and ensure that your comments and questions are respectful and relevant to the topic at hand. Please keep your microphones muted during the program unless asked otherwise. During the question and answer portion, after each lecture, raise your hand and wait for your name to be called. You may also opt to send a private message to the technical team to ask your questions. The content presented during this webinar is the intellectual property of the respective speakers and organizers. We kindly request that you refrain from recording, reproducing, or sharing any part of this webinar without explicit permission. And don't forget to like and follow our FB page, DigiField's Policy Forum. So these event reminders will help us maintain focus and provide a meaningful experience for everyone. A pleasant morning to all of you and welcome to DigiField's Developing Innovative Growth Initiatives fueled by integrating empowered local data systems. I am Gia Alvario, one of your hosts for today. And I am Dian Decena. Kami ang makakasama nyo for the whole duration of our forum as we dive into what DigiFields is all about, partner. Ayun, so nabanggit mo na ang DigiFields, partner. Kung saan nga ba ito? So, basically, ang DigiFields, partner, is a policy forum on countryside development and community empowerment in the age of big data. So mainly, yung pag-uusapan natin dito ay yung importance and application of data and digital technologies in informing and guiding our decision-making, in particular, partner, pagdating sa ating agricultural practices. So, tungkol pala doon ang DigiFields, no, partner? And with that said, we hope that we are all ready to learn and listen sa mga pinagsahan ng ating mga speakers for today. Since isa naman, partner, sa mga objectives ng forum na ito ay to discuss fresh perspectives that may reshape the narrative of rural development. Especially sa panahon ngayon, no, na pabago-bago ang landscape ng technology. Actually, pero syempre, this event wouldn't be possible without our partners. So special thanks to UP Business Management Society, UP Society of Agronomy major students, and UP Lacan Clark. Also, while we're here, kindly like and follow our Facebook page, guys. It's at facebook.com/DigiFields Policy Forum. So, sa mga hindi nakasunod nun, or tinatamad kayo mag-type, ilalagay ng aming team ang link sa chat box. Ayan. And so, to formally start our event, may we call on our overall project head, Mr. JC Magalas, to give his opening remarks.
Ayan. Hi everyone, magandang araw po sa ating lahat. I'm JC, the Project Director of DigiFields, and on behalf of the entire DigiFields team, isang mait na pagtanggap po sa lahat ng mga dumalo. Welcome to DigiFields, where we believe in developing innovative growth initiatives fueled by integrating empowered local data systems. Many of you might ask, what is DigiFields? DigiFields isn't just an event. It's a policy forum driven by the passion and dedication of students from the University of the Philippines Diliman Extension Program in Pampanga. Our focus revolves around fostering a comprehensive understanding and actionable insights among local government agencies and municipal planning officers. We also want to discuss new ideas that can change how we think about rural development, adapting to the changing technology landscape. Today, we come together to celebrate the intersection between agriculture and the digital frontier. As we stand at the crossroads of tradition and transformation, we invite you to open your eyes and minds to the possibilities that lie ahead. From smart farming practices to cutting-edge technologies, I hope DigiFields will be the platform where ideas flourish and innovation takes root. So, let us cultivate curiosity, nurture collaboration, and harvest the knowledge that will empower us to reap the benefits of a digitally enhanced community and agricultural landscape. Get ready to be enlightened, engaged, and energized at DigiFields. Once again, a warm welcome to DigiFields at marami pong salamat for joining us on this exciting venture.
So, thank you, Mr. Magcalas, and let us give a virtual round of applause naman for his opening remarks.
Wow. However, before we proceed, please note that our tech team will send a Slido link doon sa ating chat box. So this is for those na may mga questions for the speakers, and you can send them through the link, and after the speech, we will relay your questions to the speaker.
Ayan, tama. Pero before that, guys, please be reminded of our house rules, ha? Since this will help us maintain focus and provide a meaningful experience for everyone, syempre.
Ayan, so I think ready na ang ating mga participants for our first speaker for today, partner. So,
So, for our first speaker, we have Dr. Alan Cajes, who is a career executive service eligible with 27 years of experience in the public sector. He is a senior executive fellow of the Development Academy of the Philippines, or DAP, Council of Fellows, current Vice President of the Corporate Concerns Center, former Dean of the DAP Graduate School of Public and Development Management, and former Managing Director of the DAP Center for Sustainable Human Development. He holds degrees in AD Philosophy, graduated as cum laude, MA in Philosophy, graduated as magna cum laude, and PhD in Applied Anthropology with highest distinction. However, due to some sudden circumstances, he is not able to join us today. Pero worry not, because we have Ms. Donna Pamela Gonzalez to present on his behalf. Ms. Gonzalez is a former senior research associate at the University of the Philippines and a project manager for Sparta. Everyone, please give Ms. Gonzalez a round of applause.
Hello, good morning. Thank you very much. Yes, on behalf of Dr. Alan Cajes, I'll be presenting his slides for this morning. So I hope everyone's ready and attentive to to listen. And it's quite an honor actually to be presenting to you this morning. So would you be sharing my slide, or I think I'm unable. So you can please share the slide that I sent if it's possible. So while waiting, I don't think I have access to share my slides. So anyway, thank you, UP Diliman Pampanga, right? This is in DigiFields for this invitation, and I do hope that you'd learn something from this 15-minute presentation that I'm going to do. Okay. While waiting, may I ask for... I'm unable to share my slides right now. Yes, thank you very much. There you go. Hold on. Okay, let me do this properly. Wait a minute. Technical difficulties are all part of this. There you go. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so what I will be discussing with you to this morning is on promoting data-driven solutions in the local communities. For the DigiFields, developing innovative growth initiatives fueled by empowering local data systems. Okay, next slide. So the flow of my presentation would be, first is what are data-driven solutions and how Sparta promotes the data-driven solutions and examples of our those solutions that we have made through Sparta. So first is what are data-driven solutions? So this is a very common term. I'm assuming that a lot of you have already heard what data-driven means, data-driven solutions, decisions, homework. In this field of AI, we all know that these are all generated by data. So it stems from an appreciation of the power of data. If you understand what data is in creating solutions, you understand the issues that need to be solved, and you have that drive to increase your knowledge and skills in data science and analytics to solve these issues, then you can create data-driven solutions. Not just a solution, but a solution that is rooted in data, and you can actually support it. You can already predict, you can already describe and prescribe using the data that you have into creating solutions. Okay, next slide. So what is Sparta? I know maybe you have encountered this term in a movie. No, we are not Spartans. But Sparta means Smarter Philippines through data analytics, research and development, training and adoption. So it is a project that was started in 2019 in collaboration with the Development Academy of the Philippines through a grant funded by the Department of Science and Technology, Philippine Council for Industry, Energy and Emerging Technology, Research and Development, or DOST PSURD, which is also in partnership with the Analytics and Artificial Intelligence Association of the Philippines and Course Bank. However, this is a 3-year project with them, and this year was its last year. It's an extension of the 3 years, and we are now housing the courses, the data science and analytics courses in DAPS, or Development Academy of the Philippines own learning platform, Linang. Okay, what is Sparta? The next slide. Okay, Sparta aims to answer these UN SDGs. I hope you are familiar with the SDGs. I won't ask you to label each, but what we are tackling with Sparta is number 4, quality education, of course. 8 is decent work and economic growth. 9, industry, innovation, and infrastructure. Number 10, reduced inequalities. This is open to all. And 17, partnerships with our goals. Okay, so Sparta is, next slide. What do we want with Sparta? Our goal is to fill in the demand, because there is already much research saying that there is a need for, I think, 500,000 data professionals in the coming years. So Sparta wants to at least make a dent in that need for data science or data professionals, not necessarily data scientists. And we also want to have or to foster smart governance practice. What do you mean by that? It's not just learning about data science. It's not just learning about data analytics or anything about data, but it's also using it to do data-driven solutions. So you're not just upskilled, you're not just reskilled, but you apply, you pay it forward. You pay it forward to your LGUs, to your organizations, to your schools, so that they would understand as well how it is to use data for their solutions. So Sparta is actually divided into the knowledge democratization, which just means we make all the available educational content, it's available for all. And activation and engagement is that we disseminate the researches, the capstones, the solutions that you've made anchored on data science and analytics. Okay, so I think the next slide would be our framework. Yeah, if you're doing research, you already know your conceptual and your theoretical framework. It just says that if you have a data enabled workforce, you have ready data, and you have your R&D. These will all lead to smart governance. So hindi pwedeng mawala ang isa. There's always, you can't just be a workforce or you can't be a data professional. Of course, you also have to have your data, and you have to have that research mindset or that idea or that solution so that it can be implemented and lead to smart governance. Okay, next slide. So Sparta has or offers 6 main pathways. We actually have 30 courses that make up these 6 main pathways. So once you complete these courses, you can either be a data associate, data steward, data analyst, data engineer, analytics manager, or a data scientist. If you can't finish like 14, 15, 16, or 17 courses, which make up actually the data scientist pathway, you can also do a micro specialization, which is in the next slide. Yan. May conflict ako dito. 12 micro specializations, which means these are competencies that are based on the data science and analytics competencies identified by the APEC, Asia Pacific Economic, forgot the term, but APEC competencies, they created the DSA competencies, and these are rooted into it. These are 12 micro specializations that are composed of 4 to 5 courses each. And when you finish, you can get certificates of completion that you are a micro specialist or a micro specialization completer of that pathway. So it's domain knowledge and analytics, project management, finance and risk, human resources, data governance, operational analytics, urban planning. Next slide. Data viz, research, stat, methods and algorithms, computing, and our very new one is the public policy and governance. Okay, so these are all our courses. Let's get next slide. Okay, as of now, we have already 614 main pathway graduates, and actually I'm proud to announce that we are going to have a recognition ceremony next week, and we will be having over 700 pathway graduates. And even, I think, 2,000 plus more micro-specialization pathway graduates. And we have already catered to 49,000 learners of Sparta Scholars. Okay, next slide. Okay, as I mentioned earlier, Sparta has 2 components. First is the knowledge democratization, is that teaching, making, upskilling, reskilling everyone, anyone, anywhere, nationwide in the whole Philippines, as long as you're a Filipino. Another part is being able to disseminate. So we had our second Philippine Conference on Data Analytics last September 28, 2023. This was held in FEU Tech in their Innovation Center in Manila. And it was a whole day event. It was attended by 200 data enthusiasts, students, experts, professionals. And a lot of them presented their capstone, their research, which were directed towards their LGUs. This is why data-driven solutions can be done into your local communities. Okay, so these are pictures of what happened in the event. Okay, next slide. I'm going to present to you some of the solutions they made. One is this. Don't mind the gibberish in the terms, but it's technically just how do they make the optimization of the daily production of bakeries in Dasmariñas, Cavite. So it's directed towards a specific city in Cavite, which is Dasmariñas City, and they would like to see how often or what are the common bakery products that they actually produce. Why is there usually a shortage or an excess, a surplus of specific bakery products or pastries in the bakery? So they want to see, they want to use data, they want to gather that data. They gathered actually that data. They created like a dashboard to analyze the data so that they can also give this to the bakeries for them to properly plan out their sales, their production of pastries. Okay. Next one, it's so simple, right? It's just bakeries. Next one is projecting of Nile tilapia fingerling. So ito naman medyo aquatic or marine in Nueva Ecija. So it used 4 models. It's more advanced to estimate the variables needed for the Nile tilapia fingerlings production. So they used an economic profit. Yeah, thank you very much. Okay, profitability index that the production of Nile tilapia. Okay, so you can use data with aquaculture, which, as you could see, was made in the province of Nueva Ecija. Okay, next solution. Don't worry, I still have 100 slides. Don't worry. Electricity demand forecasting for the Luzon power system. So here, they also got how electricity demand was, the demand for electricity. They got the data from it and they tried to forecast the demand for the Luzon power system using a lot of machine learning techniques and predictive analytics. Okay, next slide. Okay, so in Cauayan City, we also had clustering of barangays so that ELBO method K-means are all machine learning or predictive analytics processes, but they used it to cluster, and they would like to see how involved is their city, specifically Cauayan City and their local national government on the agricultural fisheries program in their local barangays. Okay, next. Okay, we also had hackathons and open data challenges for the cities of Butuan and Cauayan. Butuan is in Mindanao and Cauayan is in Luzon. Okay, next slide. So these are also their solutions that they presented. Resettlement sites using the open data. Okay, and they actually won for the hackathon grand winning as a grand winner, best in data utilization. Next slide. First, food production clustering analysis to improve food production. Okay, they also won the open data grand prize. Next. Okay, so they also have a dashboard. So this is easy data visualization, but they could like to see PWD, seniors, residents, businesses, Cauayan of the barangay in Cauayan City. Okay, next. Yes, same. Okay, so before I go into upcoming courses, it's just saying that all of the things that they learned, they were able to apply, and they were able to make data-driven solutions, even simple solutions for their communities, local communities. And this is what Sparta now is challenging. And we're also having upcoming courses on cybersecurity, AI, data analytics for teachers, or for the LGUs even, and security professionals. Next slide. So if you want to get in touch with Sparta, this is our social media channels and our emails. But just to let you know that Sparta is also partnering with the USTP CERD with their Goddess program, which also funds, because if you have a solution, you have a data-driven solution that you'd like to implement in your community, you can also apply for a grant with the USTP CERD, and they can grant, I think, at least $1 million for you to start up your solution. And that ends, I think, my presentation. Thank you very much, and good morning.
Thank you so much po, Ms. Gonzalez, for that very insightful speech po. So yung takeaway ko siguro doon is yung use of data. Kasi as mentioned doon sa example ni Ms. Gonzalez, we can use data no, sa agriculture. And she also mentioned that we must upskill and reskill Filipinos, di ba, through live training. Kasi data-driven solutions can also be done in your local communities.
Actually, partner, agree naman din ako sa'yo. Pero yung akin kasi, may sarili. Yung akin, kasi yung more on sa realization ko when it comes to data, ganyan. Kasi with data-driven information, di ba, may basis tayo kung paano natin na-atakihin yung mga problems natin, pati na rin kung paano natin ma-achieve yung mga goals na sinet natin for the improvement or advancement ng mga beneficiaries mo. Actually, parang napapaisip nga ako kung gaano ba kahirap mag-gather ng data kasi tayo, syempre, as students na experience natin yan sa mga research, ganyan, di ba, na kailangan natin ng participants, dun pa lang hirap na tayo, di ba? So what more pa sa mga huge scale na projects na covered yung iba't iba pang demographics, na, di ba? So, ayun. Yun yung akin, ha?
Yes. Pero, since we are already talking about yung mga ganong klaseng bagay, so this is the time na mag-a-allot na tayo ng a few minutes lang to accommodate yung mga questions na that our participants might have.
So, sa mga participants natin, to ask your questions, you can send them through the Slido link na naka-flash na sa inyong mga screens ngayon. And ilalagay din naman siya ng aming team sa chat box. And don't worry kung may hiya kayo, you just have to send your questions and we will read them for you. Ayan. So for our first question natin, ito na. So, other than preserving the integrity of our LGU's data, what are the biggest challenges to developing data-driven management in government units and agencies?
To repeat lang po, other than preserving the integrity po of our LGU's data, what are the biggest challenges po to developing data-driven management in government units and agencies?
So, Ms. Donna, the floor is
Okay, sige lang. Actually, gathering the data, as you mentioned nga, it's not just surveys, ha. You'd be surprised, but you have a lot of data in your LGUs. You have a lot of data in your barangays. It's just that it is not ready yet for data analysis. Kasi bakit? Nasa papel, nasa PDF, nasa computer, di mo na alam kung nasaan actually. But it's all there. So, to answer your question earlier, you were discussing, it's not hard to get data. It's harder to clean the data. And of course, the integrity of the data. How do you create data? What are the challenges pa? Is the buy-in. When you create, you have to have a champion. You have to let them understand. Kasi even if you have this high-tech dashboard that you present to your LGU, if they don't know how to do it, to understand what it says, then that's already a challenge. How would you sell it to them that it's a solution if they don't understand how to do it? You'll end up doing it yourself. And that's not the solution that you're after. So I think for me, one of the greatest challenges is the buy-in, the understanding first of that LGU, of our organization, our community, even the barangay, of that need for a data-driven solution. Once you get their buy-in, once you have their champion, they would understand, they will learn, and they can be your exemplars for other barangays. Kasi magpagmamalaki mo na yan eh. Tapos, di ba, best, di ba, minsan sa LGUs, nagko-compete pa yan, best in LGU. So, yun. And of course, after the buy-in, the funds are always a challenge, but there are always ways to get funds and grants, sponsors, especially, again, if they believe in your solution. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you so much po, Ms. Gonzalez. And now, may bago po tayo question. From our Slido link po, do we have metrics for how data poor the Philippines still is at the barangay level po in terms of the availability of clean data, or have things improved?
Can you repeat? Do we have, again, what?
Do we have metrics po for how data poor daw po the Philippines still is at the barangay level in terms of the availability po of clean data? Have things improved?
Okay, thank you for that wonderful question. I am not aware of any metrics yet. I am hoping that it's a good research that you could actually start with. But based on my experience with encountering barangays, I could say that it's still not clean. Even, I would imagine smart cities like Butuan, Kawayan, Iloilo, would already have a semblance of being data-driven, being, having better data. But right now, if just directly answer your question, I'm not aware of any metrics yet, but that's a good research to do. That's a good survey to do in your own barangays to check whether or not they are actually practicing any data for their governance, for their day-to-day processes. Okay.
So I think for our last question po, Miss, would you consider SIM registration a successful attempt against data poverty, especially in the provinces?
Do I consider which one? Sorry.
Would you consider po SIM registration as a successful
SIM.
attempt?
Very controversial. Okay. Do I consider SIM registration as a data-driven solution? Is that what you're asking?
Attempt po. Would you consider SIM registration as a successful attempt against data poverty, especially in the provinces po?
Sige. This is just a personal opinion and not disclaimer na kagad. It does not reflect the views of my boss nor DAP or Sparta. It is a good attempt to make people aware, to gather data. Okay, it's a good attempt to gather data. It is not a good attempt to make people aware why there is a need to collect. Kasi sayang nga yung opportunity that you're collecting data but hindi nila nakikita or hindi alam ng nasa grassroots, even in the provinces, or understanding why. They just need to comply kasi mawawalan ka ng SIM. Diba? Ang takot is, pag hindi mo na-register yung SIM mo, mawawalan ka ng SIM. Diba? So, how, in that sense, sayang opportunity to let them understand why it is being collected and what it can be useful for. So, as an attempt for personal opinion, kulang. It is a good attempt to gather information. It's a good attempt to get, hopefully, a data, but it's not perfect. A lot of things needs to still be tweaked. Kasi kulang pa. Okay? I think I see a question in the chat box. Okay, big data is useful. Sige, I'll read it for you. Big data is used for full planners like ecosystem restoration. Okay, how will policy play to execute what needs to be done? Okay, wait. How will policy play to execute what needs to be done from data visualization? I think I think these are too big. So yes, it is definitely useful for planners for ecosystem restoration, especially with our mountains, with our mountainsides. How much forest cover it still has. Okay, policy would definitely play a big role. You need policy to move it, but you also need people who would push for to make a policy that would include that, right? Because you can't rely on people making policies if they don't understand what's actually happening. And you can't understand if there's no data. So the data visualization will definitely, or the data that you gather as you plan, will definitely feed or help policymakers, policy owners, policymakers to understand the situation and hopefully make better policies that would affect the ecosystem and our environment. Okay? That's the definite big role of policy. It is kailangan talaga natin ng magagandang policies for our data to move as well. And not kaya nga sinasabi ko, awareness pa lang. If everyone in the barangay, imagine everyone in the barangay understands data and it's being pushed towards the LGUs, to the higher ups, then there's a bigger call for a policy to be driven. But it can't start from the top, because what we at the ground know what's happening. So we actually have to give that data to them. Okay? Sige. May time pa ba for this last question ba to?
Last question po. Since last na kung nag-chat si Sir Yanni, ayan, sabi niya po, we know there's funding for smart cities, although not enough. What do we do to finally channel some funding to data analytics for countryside development? Siyempre,
Oo naman. As I mentioned earlier, create that solution, propose that solution, and get ang daming grants ng DOST. Ang daming grants ng DOST that can fund. You just need to create a good proposal. Of course, a good solution before your proposal. It comes hand in hand. If you have a good solution but you can't propose it properly, medyo alanganin din yun. Pero there are a lot of grants, not necessarily just government grants from the DOST, but also international. It's all out there. Use the internet. It's all out there. And once it's funded, once you create a prototype, then you can get more grants to fund it properly. And hopefully, the buy-in of your LGUs, they would fund it for its sustainability. Okay? Pero it always has to start. Pwede nyo magawing business kung gusto nyo. Pwede naman. There's always ways to do that with your solutions. Pwedeng pagkakitaan din yan. Hindi lang basta yan pinamimigay kasi pinag-isipan nyo ng maayos yan. Okay? At syempre, maraming funds na yun. Pag pinag-isipan at nabenta na, di ba? Okay, thank you very much. I think that's the last question. Yes, the grassroots.
Thank you so much po, Mix Gonzalez, for answering our participants' questions. Thank you so much po. For our time for this portion is up po, may we ask our participants to just send their questions through the chat box and we will relay them to Mix Gonzalez after the program.
Ayun. And that concludes our first lecture for today. Of course, this day won't pass without us providing the deepest of gratitude to our speaker po. And at this moment, we want to pay tribute to an exceptional individual who shared his very knowledge and dedication in the field. Although iba po yung name na nakalagay sa certificate, may we call on Ms. Donna
Gonzalez again for the awarding of the certificate. So our certificate of appreciation po is proudly awarded to Dr. Alan Cajes for sharing his valuable time and knowledge as resource speaker at the DigiFields Policy Forum, inspiring progress through data-driven insights, given this 40th day of December 2023, signed by John Christian Magcalas, our overall event head, and Mr. Remy De Leon, our SUS1 advisor.
So, ayun, may we ask them to keep your camera on so we can take a picture of the certificate.
Yan, so mga pwede pong mag-on cam po tayo. Or mag-heart reaction lang po kayo if hindi nyo po ma-on yung mga camera.
So, don't worry, yung tech team namin yung magpa-facilitate ng picture taking. Ayan. Ano na lang, tech team?
Pa-assist na lang po.
If okay na ba or what?
Ayan. So, okay na po.
Okay na ba? Start na ba? Pwedeng magbilang. Kasi gusto namin, maganda kami sa picture. Uy.
Okay na po ba? Wala pong bibilang. O sige, ako na lang po magbibilang. 1, 2, 3, smile!
So, I think okay na. Kanina pa tayo nakangiti.
Second page. Baka may second page. Okay. Walang second page, partner. Once again po, thank you po, Mix Gonzalez po. And let us all give a virtual round of applause po for our speaker.
Thank you po.
Thank you so much po.
Partner, punta ka dyan.
Okay naman.
So, at this juncture, since parang nakalahati na natin yung program natin, feel ko, oras na para sa isang icebreaker.
Para naman ma-energize ang ating mga participants for today.
Tama ka dyan, partner.
At dahil dyan, nagpese kami ng kaunti lang naman ng mga general knowledge questions para sa ating mga participants.
Yeah.
So, the mechanics, no? Very simple lang naman, partner. So, these questions will be displayed on the screen. Each question is accompanied by a time limit for participants to submit their answers through the Zoom chat box. At syempre, dahil galado tayo, partner,
Dahil pera.
bilang motivation para sa ating mga participants, ang mga mananalo ay makakatanggap ng tumatagdito na cash prize.
Ayan. So, I feel excited na sila nung nasabi mo pa lang yung cash prize, partner. So, without further ado, simulan na natin. So, okay, for our first question. Ano raw ang loyalty para kay Lilian Padilla? Para kay Deeds. So, guys, i-comment nyo na lang.
Oh my gosh, may mga sumagot na guys. Oh my God, okay.
So, may nakakuha na po ng tamang sagot. Si Dominic Bolante. So, ayan.
Dominic Volante. Pero wait lang, sige ba?
Tingnan natin kung tama nga ba talaga yung sagot niya.
Okay, next slide please. Tignan nga natin yung tama. Okay.
Action niya raw. Okay. So, ikakontak ka na lang po ng aming team para ma-claim yung prize nyo. Okay, next item. Bilis na sumagot, guys.
Sino ang nanalo sa kagaganap ng UAAT cheer dance competition? Ay, ang bilis naman.
Ay, mali
yung Miss Angel Kito.
Answers only yan, guys. So, tignan natin kung tama nga ba ang sagot.
Angel, grabe, napakabilis talaga ni Miss Angel Kito. Very, very fast. Okay, sige, ikaw ang nanalo ng cash prize. So, ikakontak ka na lang ng tech team namin para matanggap mo ito.
May comment si Sir Remy.
I had gotten this story that got the reference.
Sorry, sir. Okay, next item. Third question. Ito naman. Sa pelikulang Four Sisters and a Wedding, sino ang paboritong anak ni Mama? Partner, I think, clarify natin na pwedeng isa or dalawa lang sagot. Tatanggapin namin yan. 1 or 2. Hindi nila alam.
Naku, walang umaarangkada sa chatbox natin. Walang umaarangkada. Ay, hindi nila, gusto,
Bilis na. Si Angel na naman.
Hindi ko Angel. Ay, grabe siya.
Pero
Tama ba?
I think i-reveal na muna yung sagot daw.
Sige. Paki-reveal na nga po yung sagot.
Si Teddy. Teddy. So, consider ba natin yung partner? What do you think? Bakit parang kasalanan to? Kasi hindi po yun si Teddy.
Kasalanan ko.
Hindi po yun si Teddy, sir. Mali po kayo.
Si Bobby.
yun, sir. I feel like, sige, i-consider na natin. Kasi
Okay.
sounds like naman eh.
Di wide na IE. Parehas lang naman halos mga partner. Sige. Agent kita.
Na.
Kumokota ka na. Ikaw ulit ang nanalo para sa susunod nating question. Congratulations. Napakagaling mo.
Next question. Sana matalo na si Angel ngayon.
Oo. So, hindi mo pumalo sa kanya.
Ito.
Sa ginanap ng Miss Universe pageant noong November 19, kanino inspired ang evening gown? Sinuot. Ang bilis! Di ba?
Tapos na siya? Okay, let's see. Let's see kung tama ba si Miss
Bea
Bea.
Bakason. Next one, please. Ayan.
Apawang
Congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ayan.
And for our last question, ito na yung last. So guys, bawi kayo. Sino ang nanalo sa season 86 UA18 men's basketball?
Wrong answer.
Wrong answers only, guys.
Congratulations! Meron na ulit kay Mix Dominic Volante.
So, pwede pa i-reveal yung answers niyo.
Ay!
Excited, partner. Pero ayun, tama naman si Dominic.
Oo, na-excite kasi ako, partner. Parang
Oo nga eh. Pero agree din ako kay
Actually.
Diba? So, ayan. Congratulations sa ating mga winners. So, Kukontak ko na lang po kayo ng aming tech team para makuha nyo ang inyong mga cash prize.
Thank you.
Sa participate. Ayan, so I think na-energize yung mga participants natin. Mukhang ready na sila para sa susunod nating lecture. Oo. Pero before we start again, partner, with our second speaker, remind lang namin kayo na yung tech team namin will send a Slido link sa chat box. Kaya if you have questions, you can send them through the link. And after the speech, we will ask your questions to the speaker. So, paki-flash na lang po, tech team, ang ating nangiwagang Slido link para makapag-prepare ng questions yung ating mga participants. Correct. Now, let us hear from our second speech for today, partner. So, for our second speaker, we have Dr. Chavez Joshua Flores, who took BA in Sociology at the University of the Philippines, Los Baños, and Masters in Environment Natural Resources Management, major in Upland Resources Management at UP Open University. He also has a doctorate degree on Environmental Sciences, Cognate and Development Communication in the University of the Philippines, Los Baños. Kaya everyone, please welcome Dr. Flores.
Hello, good morning. Okay, thanks for having me here. Thanks kay ma'am na nauna kanina introducing us Sparta. And I have 15 minutes for this lecture. I'll just share my screen. Can you enable my screen sharing? Okay.
Yes, po, sir.
Okay. Wait ko lang. Okay. Here's screen. Can you see my screen?
Yes,
Ayan.
sir.
Okay. Ayan, okay, kita na. Okay, let's start. My topic for today is about drone technology and its applications in monitoring agricultural landscapes. I know a lot of you are excited about this topic because our forum is about data and data capture, data analysis, and data storage. And one of the instruments that we use for capturing data on demand and real time are drones. Now, I want to introduce you for the next 15 minutes about the world of drones and how we use it for monitoring agricultural landscapes. So if you are new to the world of drones, I'll give you an introduction. Yeah, here are some photos from the field when we are doing our mapping, and I work with other pilots as well when we're doing our map making missions. And here are some of our outputs. So out of the drone images that we've captured, we've made maps and even provided photos for book covers. And also in 2019, I was able to present in Italy about democratizing drones using the Rice Telo drone as a tool for ecological farm design and landscape ecology research. So I will show you this drone later. Here's our topic outline for today. So first, I will introduce you to the world of drones and then the uses of drones for monitoring. And also, I will introduce you to some online drone services and tools that you can use in school or in your respective LGU units or LGUs. So what is a drone? A drone is an unmanned aerial vehicle that can be remotely controlled or it can fly autonomously. So a UAV is an aircraft that is operated without a human pilot on board, and they can be remotely controlled manually or flown autonomously using pre-programmed flight plans. In my case, I use manual flying. Now, drones offer us a new way to understand our planet. The recent emergence of commercial UAVs or drones in the market has led to their widespread use in film, events, tourism, and real estate industries. You will also see in social media people using drones for their vlogs. So that's where we most of the time see how drones are used. But in agriculture and the natural sciences, drones are used by farmers and scientists for the purposes of mapping, monitoring and landscape management, and the larger drones can even disperse seeds and apply fertilizers. The use of drones in research methodologies and mapping workflows can provide students and researchers with a unique perspective of the world that was not possible only a few years ago. Now, with drones, planning, decision support, and on-demand data collection in inaccessible and large areas are made possible with the aid of aerial imagery captured by a single drone pilot. So using a drone saves time, and we can capture data on demand. So along with our smartphones that everyone has right now and laptops and digital cameras, drones should now be an essential tool for our research and management operations. So I hope you will be empowered to even try to fly a drone. So here are some types of drones. The use of drones actually started in the military for surveillance and reconnaissance missions. So even now we have advanced drones that can carry weapons as its payload and deploy missiles actually. But there's also commercial drones, the ones that we are using. It became popular in the 2000s when it was made commercially available by companies such as DJI. So some of you all have already heard of that company, DJI. In agriculture, applying drone technology is seen as a solution to optimizing farm production and in addressing food security. For example, spraying fertilizers, planting seeds. This is used in smart farming and precision agriculture, these kinds of drones. And even in the field of health and medicine, drones are used for delivering supplies to far-flung areas or remote areas. Now, here are some features of some drones, some advanced drones. So we have drones that have thermal cameras that can detect heat on the surface. We have drones mounted with a LiDAR camera like this DJI Matrice 300 RTK. So LiDAR means light detection and ranging. We use these drones to map out elevations and contours of the landscape. And we also have very expensive and advanced multispectral drones with a multispectral camera. So it can detect the different reflectance values on the surface. So different surfaces, different objects on the surface. It can detect many features such as diseases also. So thermal, this is what the image that you can see from a thermal camera. LiDAR, you can create 3D maps like this one. And for multispectral cameras, you can use it for NDVI, Normalized Difference Vegetation Index, to analyze plant health. And using the near-red and near-infrared bands of that multispectral camera. Our satellite images right now have as many as 8 bands that we can do remote sensing in our GIS and remote sensing software. Here's a brief slide on the different cameras that the drones have, like thermal and infrared and near-infrared bands. Now, that's just an introduction because I just want to show you the capabilities of drones right now, which was not possible a few years ago. But to empower you, you don't need expensive drones like those with fancy cameras to study agricultural landscapes or monitor them. So here are my personal drones. I started flying in 2016, and I started actually with a toy drone, the Sima X5SW. So this one, I don't know if you can see it. So this one, yeah, this one. So it has no GPS. You have to manually fly it, and it's pretty hard to control. And then we have the DJI Raistello, which was released in 2018. I used for my dissertation. And right now I'm using the DJI Mini SE, a 2021 model, which is outdated by today's standards. And it's currently priced at 20,000. This is the most expensive drone that I have that I got because I won in a contest and I used the money to buy this drone. Now, this is how we use it. The Raistello I used for my dissertation to document permaculture landscapes in the Philippines. And then the DJI Mini SE, I use it for mapping projects and for teaching also students because I teach science in high school and also in grad school. And then I used this DJI Phantom 4 once for a project in Vietnam for taking photos of agricultural landscapes in Hanoi. Here's the different examples of photos that these drones can capture. So as you can see, the Sima X5 SW, the quality of the photo is not that good. And in the DJI Rise Telo, it's improving. And in 2023, it's the same spot, same place. So you can compare the quality of the images. Okay, so you can see the DJI Mini SE has a good quality photo. And here are some outputs of those drones. So it doesn't matter if you have a drone with a good camera or just a toy drone, because the toy drone, I used it to write a paper on analysis of water requirements of Capsicum protescens in Tarlac. So I used photos from there to incorporate into my report. And then the little drone, the Rise Telo drone, we used that to publish a book chapter. Later, I will share the link. And then the Mini SE, we've been using it for many mapping projects and book covers and other materials as well. Now, here are some uses of drones for monitoring agricultural landscapes. So these are all my photos here in this slide. So we get on-demand data for site survey, planning, and design, which we can do in a few minutes. We do not have to go around a farm, a 20-hectare farm on our own by foot. We can do it by just flying a drone for a few minutes. So we can survey, we can plan, and we can design our farms, our agricultural landscapes. We can monitor land use and land cover, especially if we're covering a large area, for example, in a municipality. And we can actually see with the quality of the cameras like the DJI Mini SE, it has a 12 megapixel photo. You can monitor vegetation health. So you can see which patches of land or patches of vegetation is turning yellow or is still green. We can use it for biodiversity conservation, for identifying areas with healthy ecosystems. And also you can find animals using this drone. You can find farm animals, you can find wildlife using the drone because the quality is so good. When you zoom it, you can see animals actually grazing. So you can do this for inventory. So up to the next number for farm and crop inventory, you can actually count the crops that you have, the trees that you have, the animals that you have like cows, sheep, or goats using the drone. Damage assessment after a typhoon, you can deploy your drone right away and look for areas that have been damaged by typhoons or earthquakes or volcanic eruptions. And then also surveillance and rescue. So when something is lost, your animals are lost. And if security is a problem in your farm, you can use the drone to look for intruders and so on. So there are many, many applications of these drones because these drones are basically flying cameras, and not just any camera, flying cameras with good quality. And later I will show you how good the quality is. So here is an example of a drone image with a vertical view. It means looking downward. We can actually put this on maps. And here's another view. It's a horizontal view, so you can see more of the landscape. So we can process these images even further. So this is a series of images, around 30. So I used this in the Agisoft Metashape demo version, and it stitched together the photos and made a 3D model for me. And then we can use these drone images also on our maps. We can overlay them on our maps in GIS software and overlay this on digital elevation models to see the elevation and contours of a certain area or a farm. And here, you can see the difference between the drone and the satellite image. So satellite images, it's not as updated as drone images. So although every year we get new updates from satellite images like from Google Earth, but drone images can provide real-time and on-demand. So on the day that you need a photo of the landscape, you can compare the quality with the satellite photo. So actually, the drone image and the satellite image works hand in hand. Okay, so the drone supports the data that you have on the satellite image. So what if I don't know how to use GIS software? So we've developed a visual inspection for monitoring. It's just using the cheapest drone that you can find, and you only need a notebook and a pen and that drone. and your smartphone, because you will use your smartphone to control the drone. And even if you do not have a laptop, you just have your pen and your notebook, you can do this summary report sheet of observations. Now, we've developed some guide questions for analytical and self-reflection process. So if we categorize our farm landscapes into 6, like biotic, abiotic, man-made, structural, technological, socioeconomic, and cultural components, we know actually what to find in our landscapes. We know actually what to monitor. So I will just go through this one by one. So if you're looking for biotic components on the landscape, the questions is, what trees can you see? How many trees are there? Where are they growing? So these are like guide questions. So you're not just taking photos randomly of the landscape. Abiotic features refer to the non-living components of the landscape. So do you see bare patches of land? What color is the soil? Can you see a body of water? Is that body of water decreasing or increasing? And then we have the structural components like the houses and the buildings. We can see structures being built on the landscape. Like what I did for a year in UP Los Baños, I've monitored a farm landscape, a research site for a year. So we've been able to see the addition of man-made structures in the landscape. And even technological components. Can you see equipment? Like, are there missing equipment? What equipment can you see on the landscape when you take the photo? And finally, we have the socioeconomic and cultural areas. This is very important. Socioeconomic is any component on the landscape that produces income. So you can identify which areas of the farm are productive. And also the cultural components. Are there places for rest and recreation? Are there sacred spaces? Are there areas that need restoration or conservation? So these are the kind of things that you will use to guide your visual inspection. Now, aside from maps and satellite images, high-resolution aerial imagery from drones provides more data for whatever purpose we have. And online, we have these drone services like Globi and GeoNadir. Globi is actually like an Uber for drones. So I'll show you quickly here. Wait, Globi. Here. So the concept of Globi is if you have data orders, for example, you need video, you need images, you need thermal images, you order in Globi and then they will match you with a drone pilot, and that drone pilot will take the data or capture the data for you if you don't have a drone. And then they will deliver the process data for you. So this is being used by either local government units or organizations that need big data, especially landscape data that can be captured by drones. So you can explore this, this service. It's called Globi or Global Health. That's the meaning. The other one, this is a free service which students like you can use. It's called GeoNadir. So GeoNadir has a global map that you can download the drone images for free and you can use it for your own mapping. But GeoNadir has a built-in mapping application. So for example, here you just upload your drone images and GeoNadir will stitch the images for you to create one big image. So for example, this one, I will show you the quality. I hope it loads well here. So this is a 7-hectare research site that I have been monitoring for a year. And then let's try to zoom. And I hope it reflects here. The bandwidth could process this. Okay. Let's zoom. Okay. We can zoom even further. Yeah, the quality is really good. You can actually keep track of the crops that you are growing, lost equipment, the structures that you are building. See, you can even see the drum of water here in the Bahay Kubo. You can actually see the lettuce here. So this is how good the quality is from your drone. So imagine the the time that you are saving in your field work, in your survey, if you have an instrument like this that can capture data in real time. Okay, so that's an example. You can visit that in gnadir.com. Okay, some final thoughts before we close. 15 minutes is really fast. Okay, so some final thoughts on drone use. We can incorporate the use of drones or aerial images into the research and farm management methodologies. It will work really well with your maps, even hazard maps if the topic is on disaster risk reduction. You can make the drone an essential part of your research and monitoring toolbox. It's like a small satellite in your pocket, and it's as important as your computer, smartphone, or camera. Now, this is a reference that we published 3 years ago. It describes the methodology that I showed earlier for visual inspection. So you can download this for free. You can just type the title, and this is a book published by Circa. You can download this plus other methodologies for free. Okay, so I'm looking forward to the questions, and thanks for listening.
So thank you so much po, Dr. Flores, for that very informative discussion.
Mhm.
So, ang fascinating, no,
Ano,
partner,
ano,
dahil sa mga technological advances, we can now use devices, no, such as drones, saka yung Geo Nadir.
Wow.
Sa iba't ibang mga research studies. And as mentioned ni Dr. Flores sa kanyang lecture, pwede natin gamitin para mapag-aralan yung iba't ibang mga agricultural landscapes, no?
Actually, partner, agree nga ako, di ba? Kasi, kasi yung first impression natin when we talk about drones, di ba? As a Gen Z, di ba? Is gamit-gamit lang siya ng mga vloggers, ng mga videographers, at parang sa mga aesthetic purposes, di ba? Ayun. So, parang may purpose din pala sa outside filming, and nakikita rin pala yung impact ng device na to sa ating agricultural sector.
Yeah, so, tama ka dyan, partner, and as mentioned also ni Dr. Flores na hindi naman kailangan maging expensive, no, ng mga drones para mapag-aralan ng ating mga agricultural landscape.
Kaya nga. So, ayun. Ngayon naman, let us now give the floor sa ating mga participants para may tanong and masabi din nila kay Dr. Flores yung kanilang insights and questions, diba? Tungkol sa lecture.
Again, everyone, if you have any questions, don't be shy to send them through the Slido link na ilalagay ng aming team sa chat box. And don't worry, kasi kung nahihiya po kayo, you just have to send your questions doon sa chat box and we will read them for you. Yeah, so good thing po, Dr. Flores. So, ayan, our first question po is, are there any regulatory considerations or limitations that farmers should be aware of when using drones in agriculture?
Yes. Good question. Actually, dapat kasama yun sa topic pero walang time. Okay. So meron tayong rules on drones, no? When you operate the large drones, so that's 250 grams and above, and with the fancy cameras, you actually need a license for that. So ang drones natin, para siyang kotse. So first of all, if you will be a professional drone pilot, which I am not, if you're a professional drone pilot, you need a license as a pilot, and then you need to register your drone. And then if you will turn it into a business, you have to register your business. Okay, so yung mga nakikita natin sa mga weddings na may drone service, ayun, may mga license yun kasi livelihood nila yun eh. Ang pinopromote kong drones ay yung maliliit na drones. The drones that we can use as students and researchers can use for research. So these are the 249 grams and below. Yung magagaan lang. So when you're buying a drone, you have to be conscious about the weight. Kasi the larger drones, especially if you take it into other places like other countries, mas strict yung regulations nila dyan. So from country to country, iba-ibang regulations. Actually in the Philippines, municipality to municipality, iba-iba. So for example, Boracay, bawal mag-drone dyan. Okay, so kahit gaano pa kaliit yung drone mo, bawal yan. You have to register sa LGU nila na magdo-drone ka. So pag may nakikita kayong nagba-vlog na sa Boracay, siguro ni-register nila or may permission sila dun sa LGU. When we do field work, for example, no, kahit hindi ko naman negosyo yung drone, magpapaalam muna kami either sa barangay captain, dun sa professor, sa project leader, na magpapalipad kami. Kasi, like it or not, no, ang powerful ng drone, ang dami niya kasing makikita pag nagpalipad kayo, no. So, kunyari, mga farmers kayo, meron lang kayong maliit na drone, magpapaalam ko sa barangay nyo or sa mga kapitbahay nyo na magpapalipad ako, meron lang akong monitor. So it's good practice na kahit yung drone mo does not need a license or wala kang license, magpapaalam ka. Kasi ang tinatry nating i-avoid is maabuso yung drone and can be used for something like espionage, di ba, or pang chismis. Yun yung ayaw natin mangyari. So as early as now, habang hindi pa ganun ka-strict yung laws natin dito, maging responsible drone pilots na tayo. Ako din in the future, kahit hindi ko iniisip na magnegosyo ng drone, maganda pa rin na may lisensya ka. Kasi pag dinala mo yun sa ibang lugar, parang mas legit ka, so na pilot. So para kang driver ng kotse na So for farmers naman, if they're gonna use light drones, for their purpose in monitoring their own farms, hindi na nila kailangan ng lisensya for that. Good question.
We have another question po, Doc. The drone technology can be costly and hard to adopt, particularly for older farmers. What can you suggest to our governments or LGUs so that we can adopt it to this practice po?
Yes. So I suggest na you start with the cheap drone. So yung pinopromote namin dun sa book, ano lang yan, 6,000 pesos lang yung drone. So ang suggestion dyan is if they have a cooperative, bumili sila ng isang drone and they can share it. Okay, kasi this drone can be controlled by a smartphone lang na Android. Okay, so it's very easy to use. And when you actually use it, mabilis lang siyang matutunan. Parang in a few minutes, marunong ka na magpalipad. Okay, so yun ang suggestion namin. If you follow that book chapter on how to monitor, they can, as a co-op or as a farmers group, they can buy just one. Kasi ang risk po natin sa drones is, like itong isa ko, tong DJI Mini SE, this is already 20,000, Pag nag-crash yan, wala na yung 20,000 nyo. Pwede mang paayos, pero ang taas pa rin ng risk. Kahit na budget drone pa rin to considered. Pero if you'll buy a drone, na has a limit ng flight height niya or altitude, this can only fly up to 30 meters or 100 feet high. So it sounds hindi masyadong mataas, pero if you see this drone flying 100 feet high, sobrang taas niya na, and it can actually see a hectare of land already, itong land na to. I think that's enough na kasi anything higher sa Philippines pala, you can't fly higher than 120 meters kasi airspace na yun ng ating mga helicopter tsaka mga eroplano. So you cannot go fly higher than that. So if they cannot even afford the 5,000, they can buy it as a group and maghiraman sila, So it will save time for them, especially yung older farmers natin, to go around the farm, So especially kung malaki yung farm nila, even a hectare is too big na, So kung meron lang silang titingnan, meron silang i-check, maganda talagang tool yung drone. Ayan, may question.
May question po tayo sa chat box. Mga ilang years po ang lifespan ng drone? Kasi ilang years lang may mga bago na naman. Worth it pa rin ba bumili ng mga old ones? Kasi medyo pricey po. Okay.
Parang cellphone kasi yung mga drones na parang every year meron. So parang wag kayo masyadong ma-excited sa mga new models. Kasi like, this one, yung Tello drone ko, yan. 2018 pa to, ginagamit ko pa rin hanggang ngayon. At pinapagamit ko to sa students. So pwede siyang ibalibag. Okay? Pwede siyang bilibag, magano siya katibay. So, yung mga upgrades natin sa drones, usually yung nag-i-improve lang dyan yung sensors or yung camera. Pag sinabi kasing sensors, lahat ng drones natin may sensors, may obstacle avoidance to So pag lumilipad siya, umiiwas siya sa mga objects, okay? So mas mahal yung drone, mas marami siyang sensors. So yung pinakabagong version nitong drone ko, yung sensor protection niya, kumbaga, parang nakabubble na sa kanya. So kahit dumadaan siya sa mga puno-puno, hindi siya babangga. Okay? So yun yung one thing na nagpapamahal dun sa drone. Itong drone ko na ito, ang sensor na lang is downward lang. So kunyari lumilipad siya ng ganyan, iiwas lang siya sa mga puno na ganyan. Mula lang sa kanyang belly. Okay? Pero yung pa-side-side, hindi niya kaya yon. Okay? My question.
Ayun po. Yes po, sir. From Sir Remy naman po, aquatic drones are rarer and more expensive, and there are range limits for airborne airborne drones over oceans. But do you know of drone applications for Philippine aquaculture ba? Oh. Ay,
Okay. So, wala pa akong minomonitor na aquaculture na project. Tapos parang yung drone ko, ilang beses lang ba siya nag-fly over water? I think 3 times pa lang. Though, itong mga bago nating drones, kaya na mag-fly over water. Okay, so scary lang, pero kaya na. Yung technology niya yung kaya na. So, I think it can also capture, no, yung ating mga aquaculture farms. Okay, can LGUs and coordinate and seek help with drone-based data gathering projects? Pwede naman, pero hindi kami yung authority for that. I think ako as a teacher, no, from UPOU, we can only give no guidance, and actually may mga students na pumupunta sa amin na gusto lang nila mag-try magpalipad ng drone. Okay, but I think meron tayong mga experts na talagang mga registered na drone pilots who can tackle no large scale projects, okay? But what we can offer, no, is like how to use the drone in mapping, in monitoring, and how to fly the drone. Tuturuan lang namin kayo. Pero syempre hindi yan, wala kang certificate na makukuha kasi hindi kami pwedeng magbigay nun. You have to go to a drone school for that. Okay, so kung interested kayo to do a research, yung mga students, your journey starts with us. Parang ganon, your journey starts with us. We can help you, no? You can use my drone pag magbi-visit kayo sa university, and we can practice doon. Then we can show you in detail, no, how the data that you captured using yung drone, how do we put that into the computer? How would we analyze it? How we measure the things that we gathered, no? So yun yung mga bagay na Because anything more than that, yun, journey mo na yun. Okay, so it's up to you what you will do about it.
Ayan, I think yun lang yung mga questions natin for our second speaker. So, kung may gusto pang humabol, ganyan, you can still send them in the chat box, and we will relay na lang yung mga questions na after the program.
Ayan. And as we end our second lecture for today, we want to express our deepest gratitude po to our speaker for his unwavering commitment and contributions. It is with great pleasure po that we present this certificate of appreciation.
So, we present the certificate of appreciation to Dr. Jahves Flores for sharing his valuable time and knowledge as resource speaker at the DigiFields Policy Forum, inspiring progress through data-driven insights, given this 14th day of December 2023. Signed by John Christian Magcalas, our overall event head, and Sir Remy De Leon, our SPS1 advisor. So we asked din po, Doc, to keep your cameras on so we can take a picture with your certificate.
Ayan, so mga participants din po natin na pwede mag-on ng camera, please do. Ayan, kasi picture po tayo ng ating tech team.
Ayan. Gia, bilang ka ulit.
Bilang din ako.
Bilang ka rin. So go. 1, 2, 3. Ayan.
1, 2, 3. Let's take
Ayan, I think.
1, 2, 3. Okay na po.
Okay na raw. Okay.
Thank you.
Once again, let's give our speaker a round of virtual applause. Thank you so much po, Dr. Flores.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ayan. At this moment naman, partner, we would like to call on Professor Remy De Leon to give his closing remarks. Palakpakan natin.
Palakpakan natin.
All right. So thank you very much to our dear hosts, and thank you to data scientist Donna Gonzalez, and to Dr. Alan Cajes, and to Dr. Jahves Flores. Thank you to Project Sparta, the DAP, and the UPOU, of course. And thank you to the MAOs and MPDOs that I see in the audience. I'm very glad to see everyone here. This is the second of our forums for the December 2023 run of the Bangkulala Science and Technology Policy Forums. And it's one of the fora for which finding speakers was a bit of a challenge because strangely not much has been said in particular about leveraging data and analytics for countryside development, which is a topic I asked the class to focus on in contrast to smart cities and urban development. So what was certain was that whomever they would invite would really be the leading lights in the field. So I was really nervous actually when they started out because I knew Dr. Cajes had been invited, and I was excited to hear from DAP about what they were doing in Project Sparta in particular. And of course, I've been monitoring what JBES has been doing with UPOU, and I've really been excited by that and the various applications for it. Much has been said about smart cities in the Philippines, and in places like Pasig and Naga have made a lot of headway in that direction. But I'm very much provinciano from La Union, and so it's a very personal topic to me, finding out how data can be used to promote development in the rural setting, in the countryside. I'm particularly happy to hear from Ms. Gonzalez and how she speaks so passionately about data science and the Project Sparta program. And I'm sure the MPDOs in our audience have found that presentation enlightening. We all know about the recent problems in our tomato industry distribution systems, and we all know how data science can help with that. I hope our national policymakers will give more attention to data analytics so we can finally put an end to this problem with our inefficient supply chains. And of course, I'm glad to hear about the availability of grants and potentials for social enterprise to fund data solutions for countryside development. And of course, I'm always glad to hear from Jabez Flores, who is really at the forefront of drone video use for information-based and environmentally sound agriculture. I think some of the MAOs and MPDO folks here will be flooding his UPOU email with requests for help with doing drone-based analysis, especially in light of the upcoming El Nino dry season, which is expected to be worse even than what we went through in '98. I'm old, so I remember. Aside from that, I've gotten really tired of hearing about the use of drones for military operations. I'm glad we're finally talking about drone tech applications for farming and agriculture. So if there's any takeaway I have for this forum, it's this. We do have the tools, but there's a lot of work to be done. It's like the old nugget about crisis being equal parts danger and opportunity. I hope this forum has enlightened us about the opportunities. Sabi nga sa sigaw ng mga taga-UP, serve the people, and idadagdag ko sa araw na ito, do it with data. Thank you, and mabuhay.
Thank you so much po, Professor De Leon. And once again, we would like to thank both of our speakers, Ms. Gonzalez and Dr. Flores, for devoting their time to share their insightful messages in this webinar.
We would also like to thank our partners who helped in making this event possible, namely UP Business Management Society, UP Society of Agronomy Major Students, and UP Lacan Clark. So another announcement lang, our team will send a feedback form in the comments para sa inyong mga feedbacks and suggestions regarding the webinar. And para rin sa mga kailangan ng certificate, you may answer the feedback form and we will email you your certificates.
And now, ito na, may we ask the participants to turn on your cameras para makapag-picture tayo lahat. For those who cannot open their cameras, you can use emojis para makapag-participant pa rin kayo sa ating photo opportunity.
Kaya with that said, may we request all our participants to please open their cameras for our photo op.
At syempre, huwag kalimutan Mags. Nice.
Maghintay kami, mga 5 seconds.
Wow.
On cam po tayo mga
2, 3. Joke lang.
Tech team, if pwede pa indicate na lang kung okay na.
Ayan.